starting an organisation, you have to start off really small and build up. Step 1 before you jump to step 10.
After opening Muslim Sisters of Eire again, second time, what was that like? What type of achievements have you guys seen? And how was it working with non-Muslims or reverts or the Muslim community as this empowered individual?
I think, you had to slowly build the bricks back up again, which we did, okay? Yeah. This time coming around, you had more of a committee behind you, because when you shut it down, they're saying, we really need this. We need this organisation. And women were finding more empowerment about themselves as well. So we said, right, okay, let's go. One of the biggest projects is feeding the homeless. We're into 8 years now outside the GPO. And I remember a couple of years ago, this woman come up to me outside the GPO about 2017, and she said, I'm so-and-so from so-and-so Department of Education. And I'm like, love, there's my card. I can't talk to you here. Because you can't. It's madness down there at the GPO. Yeah. And you got eyes everywhere. I never thought she'd call me. And Monday morning she did call me. She said, I'm from the Department of Education. And she said, we're writing new books for the school curriculum for the junior cert and leaving cert. We really want Muslim Sisters of Eire in this. And I was blown away. Every time I think we can't go any further, the achievements that we've achieved. Last year, I got a call about 8 months ago, and it was this editor from the magazine, and she said, the Woman's Way magazine. Woman's Way is famous. Any Irish women that listen out there know it's a famous magazine. So she said, there's Mum of the Year award, and she said, you've been shortlisted, and we want your story. Your story is absolutely powerful. And I'm like, wow, Woman's Way. To me, that was huge, an Irish woman. And anyway, they done my story, and then we had to go in, and we were shortlisted. There was 10 women. And on my table, there was amazing women. One woman was a film auditor, making her own film, and she was flying out to the US that night for her film to be seen. Another woman was a mother of 12.
Mother of 12?
Listen, 49 years of age. Is in the Royal College of Surgeons, went back to study medicine.
In the confused world we live in today, the battle between purpose and doubt is continuous. Broken dreams, unhealthy relationships, false beliefs, lack of knowledge, failed businesses, or even worse, living with no purpose. Join us on a journey to the horizon, a near future where a better version of you lives. Let's have conversations that expand your horizon. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Horizon Podcast, where we have conversations that expand your horizon. We're here today with our first ever sister on the podcast. She's been a part of my life growing up, alhamdulillah. We have Sister Lorraine. How are you today?
You're going to start laughing, aren't you? I'm grand, mashallah, tabarakallah.
We're very privileged to have you here.
Alhamdulillah. Nice to be here with you, Marwan.
Alhamdulillah. Jazakallah khair. Auntie Lorraine, you have a very powerful story, I believe, in regards to, what you've been able to help create within the sister community here in Ireland. You're a revert yourself. Let's kind of start off with that as a beginning. How was your journey to Islam?
Okay, the first time I ever heard of the religion Islam would have been in the very early 80s. So ironically, we had the Lockerbie bombings from Gaddafi, from Libya. We had the Lockerbie bombings, and it was portrayed on the television, terrorists. That religion is, women are oppressed. There's nothing with that religion. It's just terrorists. So you're programmed into thinking this from the media, from the television, from the newspaper. They were your port of contacts in the early 80s. Obviously, there was no computers, no phones. Well, there was computers, but not at the flick that we have everything now. Yeah. So you're constantly programmed into thinking terrorism, women in plastic bags, they'd call them black bags, a world of oppression, a world of, hostility and hate, a world of where if you got in there, you have no life and women are completely trapped. So that's what you're programmed into thinking, and that's what we would have taught in the 80s, sitting down watching the news. I always remember the Ayatollah Khomeini's funeral, and the coffin being brought by the lads. If you look back on that, look at Ayatollah Khomeini's funeral on YouTube, and you'll see he fell out of the coffin, right? And he's in this white shroud, and they're all pushing the body forward and forward. And I remember as a young teenager in the early 80s watching that and going, oh my God, and my father going, they're mad. The names, these Arabs, terrorism, look at them. So you're programmed into thinking this constantly. So in the early 80s, I'm not ashamed to say, I met their children's father, where you'd see most Muslim men would be over here in the 80s coming over to study aircraft engineering. Should they be all in the nightclubs? And that's where we met them all. A majority of them, not all of them, but a majority of them. So I would have met my first husband in there, and I remember coming home, and it wasn't long after the Lockerbie bombing, and telling my father, well, I have a chap, I'm with a chap from Libya. Over my dead body, I'll bring him in our house. Yeah. I was like, and my mother was like, Lorraine, please, why? And I went, well, it's my choice. Do you know what I mean? I'm going to marry him. And they were like, what do you mean you're going to marry him? You're only with him a couple of weeks. And I'm going, well, that's his religion. They can't be with you unless you get married. There's no such a thing as a girlfriend. And she's looking at me going, what do you mean there's no such a thing as a girlfriend? You need right now to be committed, because what you're saying is like off the scale, completely off the scale. And I'm like, well, I'm 21, I'm going to marry him. I have that right here in Ireland to do, if you think back, telling your parents, I have that right to do what I want to do at that age. So disrespectful if you think back on it, because Islam teaches us the value of the parents. But I married him, and honestly, with no blessing from my family. They weren't happy that I married them at all. And that was the first thing that this religion, I was very nervous, because I fell in love with the look of him. I didn't fall in love with the personality of him, and I didn't know him. And I didn't fall in love with the religion. I fell in love with the unknown. Back in the 80s, the Arab man, the different language from the different culture. It was all new to the young girls, and that's what I fell in love with. And I remember him telling me, if I ever have any children, they have to be Muslim. And I was like, hold on, I don't want any of my children Muslim. And at that stage in my life, I didn't want my children Muslim, but at that stage in my life, you have to remember, I was brought up in a very predominantly Catholic family.
Yeah.
So I had my own personal relationship with Jesus. Yeah. And my mother was very bit like your granny, may Allah have mercy on her, very, very staunch in their beliefs.
Yeah.
And ladies. And, to have to hand my future children over to a religion that I didn't believe in. That's when I suppose they say whatever hit the fan. I was like, you're married now in this, you're infatuated with this guy, but here's the reality of it. This religion that is oppressive, that spells terrorism. Because you remember what I spoke about, being programmed into thinking all of that. And then I remember thinking, what am I going to do? I was hopelessly in love with him. I didn't want my marriage to break up. So I was like, okay, well, I have to look into this religion. And that's the first halakha I would have went to was in 1987. It was the first time I ever seen your mother.
Where?
In South Circular Road.
Wow.
I was like, oh, they're all mad here. I was going in.
You
and
fit right in.
Oh, my God. No, I was like so... hard to believe, but I was so innocent going in. I was like, oh, my God. I always remember your mother standing up and she was going, the video man goes, hi, how are you? And I was like, oh, okay. And then I got to know Aunt Teko, may Allah have mercy on her, Abdul Minim's wife, and she was one that was kind of teaching me and helping me. I had no intention of becoming a Muslim, but I was thinking to myself, I didn't even have a baby, but I was newly married. I was saying, if I have two kids, I need to know about this religion. So I start kind of maybe understanding a little bit of it, but then I start putting two and two together. I was like, this is not what I'm married to, but however, let's move on. This religion and what I'm living with is completely two different things. So you start kind of putting jigsaws together and bits start coming in. So that would be the main how I would have started to get in and know about Islam.
Curiosity started really
to
figure out more, not like you
but
want
your
to
children.
become Muslim, to more about the kids. How are they going to be raised? What do I need to learn about their upbringing?
Exactly.
SubhanAllah. And you became Muslim
19 years later.
19 years later, subhanAllah.
After 4 children. I used to always say to my ex-husband, I used to say, if I ever became a Muslim, I would divorce you. And I became a Muslim and I divorced him. Allah had a plan. I remember one night before I became Muslim, I was, obviously I did my shahada with your mother, mashallah, tabarakallah. So any work that I do, anything that I do, she's got a huge weight of DNC and she's got to get rewarded from. Yeah, mashallah, tabarakallah. But I remember it was your mother that I would have been, Allah bless her, would have been very linked in with at that time in the year before I did my shahada.
I mean, I was seeing you on a regular basis, really. You were either in our house or we were either in your house. And
with my fag, my cup of tea.
Alhamdulillah.
Never your mother sitting with me. She used to go, you're more Muslim than you know. And I used to say to her, you must be mad if you ever think I'll wrap that around my head.
Yeah,
there's no way.
And how do you feel about it today?
Well, it's liberation. That's who I am.
Absolutely.
It's identity.
So you become Muslim 19 years later. You have 4 children. Where are you going with your 4? 5? 4 children, right?
Yeah.
4 girls, mashallah. Allah bless them. Yeah. And what was it like in regards to now becoming a personality of Islam as an Irish person, walking the streets, doing work, whatever it is that you're doing, as a personality? What was that like?
I don't think it's more so about a personality, Marwan. It's about an identity.
Yeah.
That's what it's about. So it's about finding your identity. I had a huge problem when I became Muslim.
Yeah.
I had 2 problems. I had to integrate back into my own society because society now sees me as a migrant woman because I had hijab on my head. When you're walking down the street, they don't see Lorraine from the north side of Dublin. They see a foreign woman because she's a scarf on her head. But I also had to integrate into the Muslim community who are also very tight-knitted, and to find, that kind of pace or pocket or acceptance within the Muslim community as well. Everybody was very happy that I did my shahada. Oh yeah, she's a new Muslim. Alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar.
What's next though?
Everybody has their little cliques then, and how do you get into that? So your mother, mashallah, tabarakallah, took me under her wing and helped me. But also, I think it was very difficult at that stage. I had just come out of a divorce. I was a single parent. I had 4 children. I was a new Muslim. My own society literally didn't want to know me anymore.
SubhanAllah.
My family were like, well, now she's really off her rocker. She divorced a Muslim and become a Muslim. She's gone.
She's gone. Sense.
She's gone. She's literally gone. You know what I mean? And I get that. I get the way they were thinking. I understand that. But I knew in my heart that this was for me. This plan was for me. Because right before I became Muslim, I was toying with the idea. I remember taking a Quran and looking at it and reading it. And there was a prayer mat in the house. It was Layla's, may Allah bless her. And I remember getting that, even though I was a Muslim, and sitting on it and putting my hands up and saying, God, God, if you can hear me, if things are not going to go well for me, or if there's a different path for me, show me, help me. And then things happened so quickly. About a week before I became a Muslim, I was asleep, and I had a dream. And you have to remember, I didn't want to let go of that bond I had with Jesus alayhi salam. Because everything I prayed to and every time I prayed was to Jesus, because that's where I was brought up, and that Jesus was God, and that to have that bond, always reach out to Jesus. And in my darkest times, which are a lot of dark times in my marriage, I wanted to reach out to try and get that strength. And I had this dream, I'll never forget it, 2 dreams actually. And one, I was in a lift and the lift snapped. And to my left was people with our ticker beads, the rosary beads, and they're going, Sacred Heart of Jesus, I place my trust in you. And on the right, there was people in long white thobes and making dua. And I knew I was going to my death. I knew the lift was going to, that was it. Once that lift hit the ground, you're gone, you're finished. And I remember turning and I was going, because you were pulled between religions. And I remember just looking and going, waking up and going, I need to do my shahada. I need to do it. I need to. That was the thing for me. It was the final, it was the call. Your time is finished now.
You asked for a sign, you got a sign.
I got a sign.
SubhanAllah.
So that's when I did my shahada.
Allah accept all your hard work. Let's speak about hard work. You've always been someone, since I was young, growing up, always active, always on the go, mashallah. You helped set up Muslim Sisters of Eire. Present that to us. Tell us what this organization is and how they operate and stuff.
I think in terms of why the organisation was set up was in 2005, alhamdulillah, tabarakallah, I eventually did my shahada. And then I went on the journey to start wearing my scarf. And then you then start being a victim of racial discrimination and start seeing, and I'm going, you know, if I'm being a victim, what's happening are migrant sisters. If I'm a Northsider, you know, from the north side of Dub, and I'm being racially discriminated, what is happening to these sisters?
Yeah.
So you have to remember, as I said, I had only come out of a divorce. I had to find me. I had to, before I could do anything for anyone else, I had to find me. So between 2005 and 2010, alhamdulillah, I married Abdul Hasib, who was the backbone behind me. And
Allah bless him.
I mean, you know, I mean, again, I'll say nothing. Anyway, let's move on. And may Allah bless me too for being his wife. But anyway, you know, I went back to college. You have to remember, I left school at 14, so I was literally nearly illiterate. I could hardly spell and read and write. And he was telling me the first thing that you need to do is find college. And I got accepted into college. And I went back and studied a form of feminism for 3 years. And for me to understand how Irish women would be thinking, because you have to think of this now, Muslim women are seen as oppressed. So that's a form of feminism. We don't have a choice. We're stripped of our identity. This is what the feminists were saying. And in order for me to contradict that, I needed to go back and study it.
What age was this?
Feminists, 38 years of age.
38.
I couldn't read or write.
For everyone watching this, that's a little bit older and thinking I can't go back and study. There's an example.
Big time. Yeah. Went back and studied for the 3 years, then got involved in different non-Muslim organisations, start volunteering with domestic violence services, Women's Aid, the Dublin 12 Women's Action Group, start really empowering myself. Yeah. So you have to remember, before you start an organisation, you need to find yourself. How can I empower Muslim women if I'm not empowered myself? How can I find a faith, or, you know, my newfound faith? How can I go forward on that if I don't even know how to?
You know, there's a saying Abraham Lincoln said. They asked him, if you had 8 hours to chop down a tree, what would you do? And he said, I'd spend the first 4 hours sharpening my axe, sharpening my skill, so that every time that I strike, there's an impact.
And that's
it.
That's
exactly it, really.
So it took the 5 years out and empowered myself first and found me. And also found my faith. I had to learn how to pray. I had to complete changeover. A complete changeover when you become a Muslim. So all of that. And then in 2010, I had a meeting with a few sisters in the Lantern Centre over a cup of tea. And we had a kitty. And I said, we need to do something. We need to step away from the mosques. Yeah. And that was the main, objective. We need to start something for women. And I knew these women had great potential, but it's finding their potential now. I had empowered myself, help them now. So if you remember when you were kids and you used to go in South Sector Road on Friday nights, we'd all meet with Auntie Michelle, your man, the whole lot of us. Remember the whole crew. Yeah. But you would also remember the Arab sisters that sit in one corner.
It was all groups. Yeah.
And I get that, because if you're in a foreign country, you'll go for the Irish group immediately. Do you know what I mean? So I wanted to take one out of each group, and that's what we did. And actually, a lot of people ask me...
That's very clever, by the way.
Yeah, you have to think. You empower yourself for 5 years, and then move on what you've learned.
Start filling their cups.
And that's how it started.
Yeah,
and the name... Muslim Sisters of Eire. Who came up with that? Your mother.
Did she?
Your mother said that name.
Yeah. My man should be here with us.
I'm telling you. Yeah, she was the one that came up with Muslim Sisters of Eire. I have to give her her credit where it's due. She came up with the name Muslim Sisters of Eire. She said it, taking the Irish language as well, because we are part of Ireland. And I liked that. There was all other names for it, but I liked the fact that, yes, recognise these women. This is their home, and these women are part of Eire. And that's why we went on Muslim Sisters of Eire. So, yeah. That's
when did you set up the organisation?
2010.
2010. Tell me the first 12 months.
Nightmare.
Because always when you set up a new organisation, it's new, nobody knows you, nobody knows your vision, your mission. You're going to go through a lot of hurdles. Speak to us about the first 12 months.
The biggest hurdle was our own Muslim community, because you're branching out from the mosque, you're branching out from doing things. Yeah. So it's just, to me, you have to start off, when you're starting an organisation, you have to start off really small and build up. Yeah. Step one. before you jump to step 10. So step 1 started, we need a small little venue, and we had the Lantern Centre down the road. You remember you used to go to the Lantern Centre. And we started doing, first was time out for me, so we'd do little embroidery classes for the women. We'd do a time out for me, it'd be like we'd bring in a girl, she'd do hand massages, head massages, a cup of tea, a cake, where you're bonding. The first thing is get them in, get them
to relax.
Women over a cup of tea and a cake. This is where the ideas come. Yeah. And then you open that door and you open that dialogue.
Make it more regular.
Exactly. So that's what we started. And the first conference we ever had was Muslim women. What was it? Activism in Muslim women, or activism, something like that in Islam. And that was the first one I had in the Lantern Centre. So that's how you built up. You kept going small. Between 2012 and in 2012, I moved over to Clongriffin and set an office up over there, and there was the Bengali community over there. And these women were in the huddle again. We went over, we started swimming classes, summer project, got grants for them, and kind of empowered them a bit too much, because they were like, okay, you can go now. Do you know what I mean?
See you later,
but see you later. You've done your job. Yeah, bye. It's only Bengalis here. Bye. Do you know what I mean? But it was good for them. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And it did show them empowerment. And yeah. So then we moved back over to the north, to Dublin 14 area, over to the south side. And I kind of closed down. I was on, I got hurt. I got hurt really bad from the community. So I was like, I'm done. I'm taking a year out. I'm done. Didn't want to shut down Muslim Sisters of Eire from 2000, I think it was 12 to 13, shut down completely.
Yeah. Just after you got the office, please?
Yeah, in Clongriffin. It just all went, and I was like, no, done. Don't want to know, finished. Cocooned back in, and my husband, Abdullah, was given out, this is your test, this is from Allah, this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, checking your niyyah, checking your intention. I said, I need time out. I need a year out. So I shut it down, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I got a phone call, and it was a brother said, look, can you bring your wife, and you really want to talk about bringing this new organisation into Dublin called Al Maghrib Institute. And I was like, I really don't want to go. And he was like, well, you're coming, and that's it. Do you know what I mean? So I had to go with him. Yeah. So I remember having the meeting with a brother, Amin. He was the Emir of Al Maghrib. He said, please, Sister Lorraine, you've got great potential. We want to bring Al Maghrib to Ireland, the cinemas, everything, And I was like, I really don't want to get back into this. Like at this stage, I was really hurt. I said, I don't want to get back into this. I will help you for one seminar. After that, seminar. Yeah. It's the dyslexic coming out.
Listen, before you continue on to that, Auntie Lorraine, I want to speak about that a little bit. And I've heard this from a couple of people, and we had a couple of people on this podcast that have spoke about their journey into getting close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, creating an organization that benefits the ummah, so on and so forth, where they have this clash with members of the community. Yeah. And to be honest, I've actually faced this myself. Yeah. And I think it's very regular. But it's very common in Ireland. Like I live in the UK and I live here. The UK is a lot less than Ireland. Yeah. Ireland, it's like when you try to do something, then a lot of eyes come onto you, and not many of them have good intentions for your progress. You know, subhanallah.
Because I was seen as being a very strong person. She's strong. You know what I mean? And she's not going to hear. If we say no, she'll say, your no doesn't mean anything to me. As long as you have something inside you, that seed of faith, and you know what you're doing for the sake of Allah, and clear your intention. Because we can all get, in the limelight, at the spotlight, oh, look at me, look what I have achieved, look what I have done. And the minute you start saying the word I, you're finished. Yeah, you're completely finished. And you're going to get the community drag you down. You're going to get people dragging you down, and that's the saddest thing. Yeah. But it's not, I had to detach myself from that. Who am I doing that? I closed down Muslim Sisters of Eire for a year because I was hurt from people. Not recognising that was my test, not recognising, if you stand in front of Allah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, the good that you were doing and the strength that I gave you to do, you shut it down because of people. Are you doing it for the people? Or are you doing it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So I had to find that within me. And I found that through Al-Maghrib, because then I start listening. You know, these were scholars, these are shuyukh coming over. And I'm like,
You became a student again. That's what happened.
And I was like, not in the humour of doing this. And then I start listening. And I remember the first one we brought, the biggest test for me today, and I'll never forget it, was the first time we launched Al-Maghrib here. 2 days before, and it was the Sidr of Rasulullah.
The
Sidr of Rasulullah. 2 days before it, what happened? My mother died. Your mother. She died. Oh my God, you're bringing me back. I'm going to start crying. And I was like, I can't do this. I literally cannot do this. And we had the Amira. You've got it's Vice Amira. And it was, mashallah, tabarakallah, another little Libyan girl, Hannah Owen, beautiful girl. I said, Hannah, I can't. You're going to have to take it out. I can't. My mother's just died. And the morning, obviously, Abdul Hasib was, in the morning we were launching it in Griffith College. We had Abdul Bari Yahya over. Mashallah, such an amazing speaker. I'll never forget. His talk brought me to where I am. And I was like, I'm not going. There's no way I'm going. I can't. Give me, my mother's just died. The heart has been taken, ripped out of me. She's just died unexpectedly. She's gone. And to try and like get the concept of Mom's gone. She hadn't even been buried. Do you know what I mean? At this stage. And they all went, the family went, and Abdul Hasib went, and I was sitting at home, and I was like, you got to go, Lorraine. You've got to go. And I got in my car and I drove down. No one knew. All the whole organisation, the Amir, the Vice Amir, the Vice Amira, all the different subcommittees on this. I mean, we had 300 people there, and it was a double weekend. They all knew she's not coming. You know, her mother's just died. And I remember walking in the top and sitting down. It was on. And I was like, and Hannah came running over to me, Hannah, and gave me a hug. And I said, I'll be fine. Just let me sit down here by myself. And I just happened to sit down beside this woman. And on the break, she just asked me who I was. And, you know, she didn't know who I was. And we got chatting. SubhanAllah. She did a shahada with me.
SubhanAllah.
I was meant to be there.
That day?
That very day.
SubhanAllah.
She did a shahada with me.
Rabbu Kareem.
Yeah. So, I mean, the way Allah works, you know, in mysterious ways, to pull me back there and to renew my attention. It was about my intention, and it was learning about the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him, and the trials that he went through. And there's me running after a year. I got hurt, and I'm closing down all the good. Yeah. Who am I? Yeah. When you think about all in the Sidr of Rasulullah, all he went through, and I'm closing down something that had so much barakah in it because of my ego. You hurt my ego. It's like, yeah, Lorraine. And you're saying you're only going to do one double conference. I stayed with Al-Maghrib and did 10. Do you know what I mean? And then people start coming back to me. Please, Lorraine, can we open back up Muslim Sisters? Please, sisters. And then after Al-Maghrib, I said, I need to step down now. We've done Al-Maghrib. You got to find another Amira. I need to go back to Muslim Sisters of Eire. And that's, alhamdulillah.
That's incredible. Let's take a short break, and we'll be back, inshallah, speaking about more in-depth topics of Muslim Sisters of Eire. We'll be back very soon, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Muslim Sisters of Eire every year for the past 7 years have been doing our Back for Life campaign. We fundraised for these, we got people to organise, we got some money in. This year we're bringing in different organisations. We brought in Select Aid, One Body One Ummah, Human Appeal Ireland and Islamic Relief. We have prepared all these bags, we've bought all these bags. We're working 8 years now out on the streets in the Sufra, and we know that Christmas Eve is the best time.
It's winter, it's cold, it's about to rain now, but the team is here, the volunteers are here. We're here to help people, so if you guys can, do as much as you can to help support the people that are here locally and across the world. Do your very best and stay safe. Assalamu alaikum.
Alhamdulillah, even though we have a bit of an injury, we're out here today still helping the homeless, doing whatever we can do to participate. Hopefully we'll see you on the next one.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We're back on Horizon Podcast. We have conversations that expand your horizon. Sister Lorraine spoke about some powerful stuff on the first half, and we want to kind of go into, after opening Muslim Sisters of Eire again, second time, What was that like? What type of achievements have you guys seen? And how was it working with non-Muslims or reverts or the Muslim community as this empowered individual?
I think, you know, you had to slowly build the bricks back up again, which we did. Okay. Yeah. This time coming around, you had more of a committee behind you, because when you shut it down, they're saying, we really need this. We need this organisation. And women were finding more empowerment about themselves as well. So we said, right, okay, let's go. So I suppose one of the biggest projects is feeding the homeless. We're into 8 years now outside the GPO. And I remember a couple of years ago, this woman come up to me outside the GPO about 2017, and she said, I'm so-and-so from so-and-so Department of Education. And I'm like, love, there's my card. I can't talk to you here. Because you can't. It's madness down there at the GPO. Yeah. And you got eyes everywhere down
I've been there a few times to
so
see
you know.
Yeah.
And I never thought she'd call me. And Monday morning she did call me. She said, I'm from the Department of Education. And she said, we're writing new books for the school curriculum for the junior cert and leaving cert. We really want Muslim Sisters of Eire in this. And I was blown away. The first Muslim organisation ever to be in the school curriculum. You know, and that changed. When we hit that milestone, that changed everything. That changed everything. And alhamdulillah, tabarakallah, we're now in 7 school books. And then there was also a very famous Irish programme called Nationwide. And they got in contact with me pre-COVID.
I've heard the Nationwide.
In 2018. And they said, we want to cover your organisation. You are amazing with the work that you are doing. And I'm like, this is fantastic. This was the dream starting to come true. Because it was the non-Muslim, the Irish community, non-Muslim. This is the dawah. This is the dawah. This is the understanding that I wanted to conquer. Thinking back when I was a child, what I thought of Islam. And this is what I wanted to
changing the narrative, really.
Changing it. And the truth. So that was filmed and done. And then when I tried to get the rights of that to put up on our Facebook, they went, RTE Learn have took over the rights of that programme, which means it's going into all universities to help children and college students understand Islam. I was like, hello, Akbar. Absolutely amazing.
Allah,
do you know what I mean? So, and being in the school curriculum, and what are we under? Faith and charity. Absolutely amazing.
Alhamdulillah.
So that's the purity of Islam. So then, the wider community, non-Muslim community, starts seeing the persistence and the transparency of these women every single Friday night, hail, rain or snow. 8 years. The first time we ever missed a Friday night was the riots recently. That's the first time in 8 years.
SubhanAllah. I remember there were times where I'd come to visit you and help with the homeless situation. And it'd be packed.
It still is.
There's so many of them, and
500 meals.
It's even the conversations.
You have to have.
You're having a conversation with someone that's never even heard of God, that doesn't even know any type of purpose in life, that's actually at his bottom, and then he sees a bunch of sisters and brothers.
Hey, you don't need to speak about Islam because your action is it.
Yeah.
When he sees the sisters there, they're like, "What religion do you come from?
And why are you always here?
Why are you here?" And now it's like, "Oh, it's Lorraine."
Yeah.
Lorraine,
she's the old dove.
That's it. She's from the north side. She'll look after us. Every Friday night you hear, Lorraine. And I'd have a great laugh. I'd go, "You looking for Lorraine?" They go, "Yeah." I say, "She's over there somewhere." And I know you're Lorraine. I go, "Me? I don't know Lorraine." So you've got a great bond with them and a great connection with them, and you've got a trust with them. Every time I think we can't go any further, we've the achievements that we've achieved. I got a phone call from, now you wouldn't know it, but your mother would know it, Misha, and your granny would know it, Lord bless her. There was a magazine called Women's Way. I got a call about 8 months ago, and it was this editor from the magazine, and she said the Woman's Way magazine. Woman's Way is famous. Any Irish women that listen out there know it's a famous magazine. So she said, there's Mum of the Year award, and she said, you've been shortlisted and we want your story. Your story is absolutely powerful. And I'm like, wow, Woman's Way. To me, that was huge, an Irish woman. Yeah. And anyway, they done my story, and then we had to go in and we were shortlisted. There was 10 women, and there was this big event. And I'm like, I didn't realise it was this big. And on my table, there was amazing women. One woman was a film auditor, making her own film, and she was flying out to the US that night for her film to be seen. Another woman was a mother of 12.
Mother of 12?
Listen, 49 years of age. Is in the Royal College of Surgeons, went back to study medicine. At 46.
Does she have a couple of twins or something?
I don't know what she has, but she... 12 children. And is
Subhanallah.
studying medicine.
Wow.
Went back and studied medicine. She's got a great husband. That's what she has behind her. Anyway, never thought in a million years that we would win it. And next of all, they start talking. We made it for her, this award. It's called the Trailblazer Award, where...
The Trailblazer. I love
Don't
the
say
name.
it's up in my office, the Trailblazer Award, where this woman has brought East to meet West. And it's something that we never thought could be achieved. And I was like, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar.
Alhamdulillah.
This was Nora Casey. And for all of those, now she was on the Dragon's Den. She's a philanthropist. She's multi-millionaire.
Wow.
Yeah. And she did this award for Muslim Sisters of Eire because we brought East to meet West. And I'm like, Alhamdulillah, the understanding is there now. The beauty of Islam, the real Islam.
Alhamdulillah. You know, the Prophet Muhammad, yeah, it took him a very, very long time to just plant the seeds. And he didn't see the blossom of those seeds for a very long time. And that's just the reality. When you come to people that don't understand who you are, the identity like we spoke about, it's about timing. It's just about them seeing it over and over again for their hearts to accept it. In the end of the day, Allah yahdi man yasha, yudillu man yasha. You can't change a heart. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala changes that heart. But I want to speak about, before we conclude, I want to speak about volunteering. I think volunteering, and anyone that asks me, says to me, Marwan, how do I get involved in charity? I say, Akhi, just volunteer. Volunteer. Just get yourself in an environment where you're becoming selfless, and you'll realize how selfish that act is. Like, you want more and more and more of it. You can't get enough of it, subhanAllah. But you have a great group of volunteers, mashallah.
Yeah,
a lot of great sisters. I've seen a lot of pictures of trips that you guys have taken together, retreats, so on and so forth. Talk to us about some of the volunteers in the group, or some experiences with them, and also how can somebody get started volunteering?
Well, I mean, my number's all over the place. 086 785 4866. Just ring me. I get calls from Chad and everything, as you seen earlier. But, you know, there's no Muslim Sisters of Eire. It's Muslim Sisters of Eire. And what, you know, you're a Muslim woman, you want to volunteer, you're part of that. You are part of it already. It's a very open door policy. The only thing that we were very strict on is helping the homeless. You have to be Garda vetted under our organisation, because we're linked in with the Central Garda Bureau, and you obviously need your HACCP level 1 food and safety certificate as well. But we'll bring you through the steps of all that. We've also a youth worker now, and that's Muslim Girls of Eire, who are actually doing fantastic work as well.
MashaAllah.
And the youth out there. We've also a revert support as well. We do a lot of work for reverts. We're just working on the Omar Suleiman. He's coming, the event that's coming, and we have 30 tickets ready to give out to any reverts. I think it's very important as well. We're also, we give out revert packs to the sisters, the Muslim Girls of Eire, the youth. That's their remit. They make the packs, they do everything, and to make sure that there's some kind of support there. And then when a young girl does her shahada, mashallah tabarakallah, she doesn't need someone my age helping her. But when she can connect with another young girl around her age, it's absolutely fantastic.
Absolutely.
So the girls, the youth are fantastic that way. So in terms of volunteering, we on the website there is a volunteering form that you go through, and you just put in which would be best for you, what you would like to volunteer with, because there's so many projects. We do court support, we do advocacy, we have a helpline 3 days a week for women in trouble. We have a team dedicated, trained with domestic violence, helping all of that. So the work, it's not only, I know we're very looked at the homeless, that's not just that. There's a huge amount of work behind.
MashaAllah.
We've an office with 5 staff. It's 5 staff. Do you know what I mean? So there's a lot of work behind it all. But it's an open door policy. And Friday nights, it's not about religion down there. It's about charity facilitating an action that is needed. And that action is to help people who are hungry. And we've got 10 not Muslim people help us down there. So they know that, you know, if I want to volunteer with Soup Run, Muslim Sisters of Eire will open the door to you, whether you're
Even if you're Muslim
exactly.
or not. Yeah.
It's like on Christmas we don't celebrate Christmas, but families who were in desperate need on Christmas rang us, and we have a food bank, massive food bank. And yes, I give you a hamper. Of course, we'll give you hampers. You know, we've a huge every week with hampers going out to our family support. Most of them are non-Muslim.
Yeah,
Imagine being able to go to a Muslim organisation looking for help, and you're not Muslim. That is dawah in itself.
Absolutely. I think everyone watching this, if you've never volunteered before, do volunteer. It doesn't matter what organization it is or where it is in the world. Just get involved.
That's
Go
it.
to your local masjid and find out.
Change people's perceptions. That's
Change
Muslim.
it. Change it. By actions, not by talking.
That's it.
You know, get involved. Get your hands in the work, inshallah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect your organization, your work, your volunteers, your great team that you have. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless all of you for your hard work. It's not easy.
No.
This work is not easy.
No.
I've seen it firsthand. It's very, very difficult because at times you want to look after yourself. You want to go for a long holiday. You want to do, but you can't. You know, you have to continue to move the wheel. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the best of planners, like you said. Auntie Lorraine, last question. If you could directly look into the camera there and just give a message to the youth. You know,
I thought you were saying to me 20 years ago.
Maybe to
Get
yourself.
in here, you little brat. That's what I know what to say. Stay easy.
Oh God! But if you could give a message to the youth of today's age, the new 21st century, what would that message be to conclude the podcast?
I always say I think of what I say to my own girls first. Be proud of who you are. Be proud of your identity. Never let go of your beliefs and hold firm to the rope of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Subhanallah.
That's it.
Beautiful reminder. Jazakallah alf khair. For all the audience, for the viewers that are watching this, we look forward to showing you guys the next podcast and the next one and the next one. We have a lot going on, alhamdulillah. I would like to give a special shout out to our media executive as well. He doesn't get enough credit. He's the guy behind the camera, the eye behind the camera, in fact, making sure that we have all the footage and everything set for the upcoming week. So with that being said, have a great evening. Jazakallah alf khair, and we'll see you guys at the next podcast. Assalamu alaikum.